So Unit 5 of the FMS course, lesson number 8 is ABCs of physical literacy. And the ABCs stand for agility, balance, and coordination. These are really important components of physical literacy, these three things. So it's important to make sure that we're also looking out for those and how to develop these things. And often these things can get overlooked, especially as students get older. You have less of this occurring in a classroom. That's by design. You'll have some default, but you'll have less of this occurring in terms of training this specifically or working on this within a physical education class or on a sports team, etc. So you'll start off here, just do a quick quiz on the ABCs of physical literacy. That's basically a matching activity. And then this just goes over the ABCs and what they are. So it'll confirm what you did in the quiz up here. Then it jumps into agility. And the agility section here, what's going to happen is this is another little active lab. There's a worksheet here that you can download. But basically, you're going to get some volunteers who are going to complete the 4 agility sequences that are found in the worksheet. So there's 4 different patterns using grids or squares. If your school has tile flooring like ours does, that makes it really easy to find it. If it doesn't, then you can basically, sometimes you could say use hula hoops, be careful, but you may have to tape something down or create that pattern creatively, whichever way you can do this. But what you're going to do is you're going to observe the different people performing the different patterns and then use the worksheet to record your observations. And then when they're all done completing the 4 agility sequences, then you'll sort of do a self-assessment. Now, what's interesting here is you'll circle if they're successful or unsuccessful in performing each sequence and then check off which key ideas were missing if unsuccessful. Now, once you've collected the data, you'll decide which recommended activity or game you would play that would benefit all 3 of the participants in this activity. So as you go down through the PDFs in this section for agility, it provides a bunch of game samples or activities you could do. So you're supposed to pick one of those and then talk about how that game could be then used to improve the skill level or the performance of the people that you're watching through the data on. So then once you've got all that completed, then enter into this following discussion post right here. And then in that discussion post, so based on your data observations, and then again, include a summary of your data observations. So I want to know what you saw and explain it in detail. Which activity or game would you then use to improve the performance of your participants? Once that's done, you can take a look at this section on balance. So again, there's a balance quiz you can complete before. Some more information on balance right here as well in the PDF. And then the final piece is on coordination. And so it's important to note that in the coordination piece, what you'll notice that there's different stages of coordination. So here it talks about stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And the idea here being that our coordination is about building up more and more complicated movements and performing them in a smooth and efficient manner. So there's some suggestion for some stage 1. So you're going to provide some suggestions for stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, keeping in mind that stage 1, you're kind of sort of just focusing on one movement component. In stage 2 here, it's a little bit different. They've actually added an implement in the hand. So now you've got a situation whereby you're holding something. You're then also then trying to judge distance to then keep the balloon up in the air. So that could be the one situation. Or it could be, let's say, for example, just your hands even, but you're trying to keep the balloons in the air, but maybe it's multiple balloons. So again, you're adding more things to have to focus on in the stage 2. And then you'll notice in stage 3, what ends up happening is now you do have an implement in one hand, so you're keeping the balloon up with a bat or a racket or something of that sort, and then they've got you walking as well along a line or a floor on a bench, or maybe while jumping or hopping. So again, you'll notice they pulled in multiple different movements in this situation. So again, these are just body situations, so it's body movement. We've now added an object into play that we have to make contact with. Here we've added an implement into play to keep the object going. Plus, we've added the movement back in. So hopefully you're getting the idea of how an item can become more complex as it moves through stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And then here what you're going to do is you're going to come up with some examples of your own that will occur in physical activities or sport. That would be examples of stage 1, 2, and 3. So share your examples to the discussion post. And again, just one example per stage. And then it mentions here, please make sure you respond to someone else's post, and it can be an agree or disagree with the stage that someone gave to a coordination example for an activity or sport. And that would be your lesson number 8.